Hello, and welcome to Moving in Between the Lines. I'm Jack George, and this is my YouTube channel. And in addition, today we will be talking about, it's a bit of an analysis on the Sydney kind of derby, Sydney FC versus Macarthur, what went wrong mainly for Macarthur, and just a bit of analysis on their season so far and what could be done better. Just some context before we start. Macarthur's underlying numbers, right? So their goalkeeper, whether it be Nick Suman or Philip Curto, Nick Suman, I think that's right, has made 4.5 saves per match, which is the most in the league, and they actually have the highest expected goals conceded, which is 9.3. This is despite them letting in just 5 goals. I just had a look quickly on the expected goals ladder, which is based off if, whoever wins expected goals-wise wins that game. And they would actually be 5th, but are currently, I think, 2nd. So a bit of overperformance there, but let's get into the video. So over the course of the season, Macarthur showed really strong and really good defensive principles when the opposition are attacking the final third. They stay narrow really well, and they prevent cutbacks and crosses when they do come in. However, they did the first stage relatively well against Sydney. It was preventing the cutbacks and marking the box that really let them down. So for the first goal, Maripa, the left centre-back, we'll talk about that later, that was a bit weird, and Najar, the left wing-back, had both came down to close Caceres had the ball, leaving Grant free, so the ball comes back to Grant, and what happened is there was this, you see here, way too big of a gap in between the central centre-back, James Meredith, and the left centre-back, Maripa. So then the ball comes out to Grant, who plays quick ball into Retro, or instead of stepping into the space while Maripa's slow to track back, closes Retro down. And Retro plays, so let's move him here, a really good pass into Burgess from a really clever run. And Mboma, where is he? Move Bahaja. Mboma struggles to track the run. It's a really good ball in behind, and Burgess finds Wood, who scores. And then for the second goal, it's Bahaja, who just has so much ridiculous amount of pace, takes a humongous touch in behind. You can't stop Bahaja's pace, you can't stop him from being a fast player. What you can stop is the fact that Burgess was free. We can show it here. Burgess was free in the middle, back here. It was something like this. Let's move Wood here maybe, I don't know, I can't really remember. But Burgess was free in the middle to tap it home. Uskok has to step out and get to him, or Meredith does, one of the two, because they were in the right position in theory, but they didn't track the right runner. And the third one was Patrick Wood on the left, Patrick Wood on the left, I don't know why I said Joel King, Craig Noon kind of just got done by him, and he found a good ball to Bahaja, and it was a bit of a scrappy goal. But so it's a defensive problem from cutbacks, and the no marking in the box or following of runs with the players getting pulled out too easily, as seen in the first goal, because Maripa either has to stay or yell at Orr to hold his position for him, or he probably should have ran back faster, to be honest. And just quickly on Ante Milicic's choice to play James Meredith in the centre of a back three. It was a bit weird because, for one thing, Meredith was primarily a left back and played more so last season the left wing back than in the back three. That's a lot of, I said back a lot just then, for Macarthur. So what you have when you have a left-sided central defender is when, say, Caceres is pressing here, he's always looking to bend his run to avoid the ball finding Najar, because obviously Najar's free and he'll be pushed up on him, don't mind the other people. What Meredith can do is, because he's left-footed, he can just bend it around Caceres really easily. Whereas when you have Maripa here, when you're using the inside of your right foot, if you imagine it, it will always be bending like that. Well, that's a kind of... It's not actually. But yeah, so bending like that. So you can see in this example, Caceres is completely in the way. So you either have to use your right side of your... the outside, of your right foot, which is very unorthodox and quite dangerous in that position, or you have to bring the ball all the way out and maybe use your left foot, which is a bit weaker, and then play the ball like that when Caceres is drawn out, or come here to offer. You get what I mean? But essentially, it was a weird decision purely based on, for build-up, it made it really tough when Sydney were pressing because of the passing angles a left-sided defender offers compared to a right-footed defender. And if you have the left-footed centre-backs are considered somewhat of a premium, and I know that Alexander Shushna will come back and probably play there again, but I found it quite weird that it was Maripa they opted for instead of Meredith on the left. And another thing I found a little bit unusual about Macarthur's setup was the fact that they opted for, I only caught the first 20 minutes properly, but the fact that they opted for a 5, from what I could hear, it was a 5-3-2. I probably should have watched it, but all good. 5-3-2 rather than a 5-4-1 block. So because what would happen is when it was really, really easy for Sydney to build up. So first of all, the main thing you notice is the fact that Orr, who's the 6 in this example, is completely free with no one to mark. So the ball comes out to Donachie from Redmayne, and Rose goes to press it down. It's an easy pass to Grant, and this is the problem. Either you leave Ryan Grant, he's actually really good at pressing the ball with time and space, so it would, in theory, you'd want De Silva to come and press him here, and for Rose to cover, but sometimes there just wasn't enough time. What would happen is Najjar comes to press and blocks, sometimes didn't block the angle. The problem with Najjar and Noon is they're both wingers. In Najjar's case, used to be considered a striker playing as wingback, so it's just, this is, pressing, maybe not, but ignore that thought. But like I said, the same thing with the passing angles considered. So Grant can just find him here, and Caceres, and now Marip has to close him down, and they have to come across. Bahaj is ridiculously fast, so now all of a sudden it becomes really awkward for Macarthur to defend. And it's just an easy way, so that's why Macarthur sit in a deeper block, and it works really well when they do so. But because Sydney got such an early goal, and then had 2 at half-time, Macarthur were forced to come out and press, and that made it their pressing structure wasn't fantastic, and it made it quite easy for Sydney to just progress the ball with, relatively simple ease. And when Macarthur were going forward, this is a problem I've actually had with them for quite a lot of the campaign, and something I've spoken about at length with Tom Williams. And, I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, you might have caught this inkling of his thoughts on Macarthur. He's kept it pretty under the wraps, though, so good on him. But, I'll check out his stuff. I might put it, I don't know how to put it in. I don't know how to put the Twitter in. You know what, Tom, if you're watching this, I'll put it in the bio for you. So, follow Tom on Twitter and follow me. Anyway, so, what they would do is they're so reliant on individuals to spur their attack. So Sydney would sit really deep and do well in covering space in between the lines in this 4-4-2 block. And quite cleverly, actually, to be fair, they would look at lots of quick switches. So, Grant would be more like here, and King would be more, apologies about that is poor from me. But so Najjar and Noon were always free and always wide. So there were just a lot of these quick switches particularly from one to each other, and from Orr as well, although a few of his were misplaced. And but they would only really look from that brilliance from wide areas, particularly from Noon. This is something I had a major problem with, was the fact that Noon, who's left-footed playing from the right, would always come inside. To say it's like this, and he's coming inside, and it's narrowing the field, which is fine. But the problem is Holman would then, who was playing as the right-sided forward, would still sit in this position. Sometimes he'd peel out wide, but in general he'd sit in this position. And this is where you'd want one of Tommy Uscock, the right-side centre-back, to overlap, to make a run like this down the flank, like that. He didn't, and it really compacted space for Macarthur, and only left a couple of options. So this ball in behind, but Holman would be being tracked, or a switch to Najjar. And like I previously stated, the switches worked quite well in the first 20 minutes, but it was very clear after a bit that Macarthur looked out of ideas apart from these switches of play. So something I would have liked to see is when Noon comes inside, Uscock makes this and it's not a problem because Mbeumo can cover, and then Holman, if they want to keep that 3-2 defensive structure they love, Holman can come here and then makes the run down the line, and it just, it can even be a decoy, because in general, Noon actually uses overlapping runs as a decoy. But it just acting as that decoy, and it really helps out the width of the attack, because you need to keep that width, particularly in that position of the field, otherwise it all compacts in. So Macarthur are really good in the counter-attack, and credit to them for that, but they're lacking a plan when they go down early, because you can't just, if you're playing like this, you've got all of this space, there's a box out here. It doesn't look like much because this is on a tactics board, but in real life, this is probably like, I don't know, I'm not going to make an estimate and make it wrong, but a lot of space, because look at that, that's the edge of the box, and then it's almost from the edge of the box in that position to the touchline on the out wide. So possibly an overlapping right centre-back might help them. They need more confidence to play in between the lines, to force balls in between the lines. It doesn't help. They don't have a true ball progression in between the lines. But Holman's really tidy, coming from the Sydney Academy, actually, at receiving the ball in between the lines, and De Silva's quite good at it too. So when Noon comes inside from the right, you want people overlapping. The switches, like I said, do work well, but there needs to be other ideas there. So overall, I mean, we can kind of put it down as a bad performance from Macarthur. It is important to remember those underlying numbers. I mean, there might be a few more performances like this. I wrote an article on Kick 360 about if their form was sustainable, and it was for a bit, and now, I mean, it's one game. So let's not get too reactionary, but the underlying numbers make it seem a bit worse than probably the performance is. So it'll be interesting. I don't know who they're versing this weekend because of all the COVID stuff. I haven't been bothered to check even, but it'll be interesting to see how they look to bounce back, whether Ante Milicic opts for anything different to what they've played otherwise this season. And, you know, like in football, anything can happen. So exciting times. Also, I always forget to say this, please, if you enjoy the video, subscribe, and I won't take up too much of your time. So thank you so much if you've gone this far to watching. It generally does mean a lot to me, and thanks. Alright, see you soon.